Oh, how fabulous. Hi, welcome to How Fabulous by Toni and Co. I'm Toni, and in today's episode, we chat to the very fabulous Mia Ostberg. And some people pronounce it Ostberg, but it's actually Ostberg. So there's that because she's part Swedish. Mia and I met many years ago through actually daycare with our children, and skip forward, then I actually reconnected with her in the advertising industry. Mia's, amongst a million other things that she does, is a very, very excellent retoucher of stills. So she was very much the lady to go to for beauty and hair and that sort of thing if you were retouching. She does lots of other things, and we talked to her about her various different career paths. She's always worked for herself, and that's, I find, fascinating because I'm that sort of person as well. But she does lots of other wonderful things, and has just started her own label as well, which is very fabulous. So there's that. And indeed, I just have to show you these wonderful things that she bought me. She made these for me. How gorgeous. Anyway, so How Fabulous with Mia Ostberg. I hope you enjoy this episode as much as I enjoyed catching up with her after all this time. Hello and welcome to How Fabulous by Toni and Co. I'm Toni, and today, I don't know if you can see this fabulous cup, I'm talking to, I'm going to say it, the lady who made this for me, made me a whole set of these and brought them in today, which is very, very, very fabulous. Mia Ostberg.
You've done pretty good.
I did it, and that's Swedish for those who don't know, but people might know her as Mia Craig or Mia Ostberg.
Just say Ostberg.
Ostberg. I won't say it again. Ostberg, because I feel like quite Swedish, but there you go. Isn't that fabulous? I love that you did this for me, Mia. This is amazing.
Do you know in Japan if you slurp it says it's really tasty?
Exactly. So I was channeling that because we were just talking about whether Mia can actually speak the language. We're talking about her being Swedish, and she said, my Japanese is better than my Swedish. Which brings me to the point, welcome.
Thank you.
But Mia is one of those ladies that actually can do anything. She's really triply, multiply talented and does a lot of things that she actually doesn't advertise. We met, and I'm going to say 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And actually, this is an interesting thing. We met 15 years ago when our sons were at the same daycare centre, but we never actually met.
No,
we haven't met until today.
And of all the jobs that we've coincided with, it's crazy. And I send artists your way, and never have we met in person.
And it's just today, which is why I really wanted to invite you in to How Fabulous, because you are so fabulous and do so many fabulous things. And our connection was way back when our little boys were little babies pretty much, in a daycare centre.
When I actually lived in Hampton, but I drove them all the way down here.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's even weirder.
I know.
That's how it was.
That's how it was, because I had to, because we needed to get into somewhere local, and we were moving this way. We just didn't know where we were moving to.
But all the way from Hampton?
Hampton.
Oh my gosh.
So they were still in Hampton one day, but they came down here a day and they had the nannies the other days.
Oh gosh.
So yeah,
that's hectic.
I know.
So you did that, but then, and then also, we'll talk all about this. Mia's a producer as well, but I knew Mia from her being a retoucher.
Which was my main.
That was your main big thing?
For the 25 years, but I didn't tell a lot of people, even in a part of that, because I wasn't doing it all the time. Like, I did it as a small section, but it was only to when I decided, I think it's been, so when the boys, so let's say 15 years of it was full time alone, but it's gone back further than that. Yeah. So back to Photoshop 2.
Oh my gosh.
That shows my age.
And then,
was I 25?
Yeah, I'm 28, so
Yeah.
you know. And also then in the advertising industry, when you worked at one of the agencies representing photographers and stylists and makeup artists and all that kind of stuff, we talked on the phone all the time, but we still didn't meet.
No.
So this is a momentous day.
And we only live around the corner from each other.
I know, that's so funny. I love how the world works, you know, like in the right time, people come. And then there's another coincidence as well, because one of your friends, I met because I knocked on her door, because I kept driving past every day and wanted to know who'd built her house, because we were thinking of building a house. And I went, I love that house. And she said, so I literally stopped out the front, knocked on it and went, can I just ask a weird question? Who built your house? And she said, come in. And then we got talking, and then anyway, there was that whole sort of, I got one of her girls in for a casting job, and that went really well. But then she said, oh yes, and my friend Mia, she's rich, and I went, oh my God, I'm Mia the retoucher. And she went, yeah. And I went, oh, random. So random. It's so random.
I know. So yeah, we've been friends since we moved down here. We met through having nannies. Yeah, there's another thing. We met at primary school when they went to primary school here. So yeah, that's how we met, and we've been best friends since.
Oh, that's a beautiful story. See, the people that are meant to find you will find you, won't they, in the world? And you know, this is what I love. I've met so many beautiful people over the years that sometimes literally we've spoken, and then, you know, you skip forward a few years and then something else comes in. You go, oh, I remember that. And but anyway, so way back then, so because you've had such a really interesting career, and even now you turn up with these, and I went, how did you do this? And you said, oh, I made them, just did them at home. And I went, oh, of course you did. Is there anything you can't do? And you've got actually the box. Can you grab the box? Sorry, this is so casual. It's so casual. You've got a brand now called the label Mia. .com, which is this beautifully packaged delight here. Mia at thelabelmia.com. So you're making all these sorts of things, and I've seen you're doing socks and bags and cushions and all that sort of stuff. We will get to that, because I want to know more about how you then decided you were going to do that. But I think you are one of those very, very creatively, but also very technically minded people that could just set your mind to anything. Would I be right?
If I do something, I'm doing it.
Yeah, you're on board. You're 100%.
You're all in. People just like, I remember even with retouching, and they said, but is there enough work to do that, or can you make a living just out of retouching? I'm like, well, I will. Yeah. And I did, and I had way too much work, and I used to outsource a lot, or, you know, hand it on, you know, and I just said, there is more than enough work for everybody. It was hard, because at that stage when I was doing, like maybe 15 years ago, there wasn't a lot of people doing hair and beauty. And
because that's kind of one of your, I guess, specialties.
That's my specialty,
is hair and beauty.
Yeah, so I did that, and then so people sort of came on, but then there are a couple of people, and there was and they sort of wanted, you know, do you have people working? And I said no, because it's just me and I don't want to grow. And some guys I know have done well and they've grown, you know, in a business out of it, but I've never wanted to do that, because it's more an artist and I just want to do my work and not do that. So everyone's different, but I had more than enough work and too much, and it was great and I loved it. But
So you did that for a really long time, but like, was that what you started out doing when you left school?
No.
Like,
I finished HSC when I was 16. So I finished my year 12 at 16.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I was young. So I started, I think, early, and then I skipped year 9. So when I finished, look, we all sort of went out, obviously, underage, but I was thinking, look, if I go to uni and I'm underage, everyone's of age now, you know, it's different when you all have to go home, when the bouncer tells you can't go in. But when you're the only one, well, not everyone else is going to go home. So so I thought that I'd go overseas. Obviously, you know, my parents aren't wealthy or anything like that, so the way of getting over back in those days, because there was no internet.
That's a slab. Sorry, I'll just turn that off. How unprofessional. Mia said, I'm going to turn my phone off. And I'm like, no, it's fine. I leave mine on and it never rings. And it rang. So I'm just doing that. Quiet time. Sorry, Mia.
That's all right. And I then I went as an exchange student. They'd already picked who they were going. And I'm just like, no, I need to go. And then, like,
Where did you go?
I went to Sweden because I wanted to see my family and meet them. And so when I did it, they'd already chosen their one person, and then so they said that they'd interview me, but maybe take me on later because I was still young. I could always go the next year, but I'm like, I've done year 12, I'm finished. But I remember that
I want to see the world. Yeah, I'm ready.
So I remember the interview, and I never knew anything. I'm still not political. I don't know anything, but even I was so. No, I remember they asking me what party was in, and I just went,
I don't know.
I'm like, it's a 50-50 chance. And when I got it wrong, I just saw their faces, and then, oh no, it's Labour. I was kidding you.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I could play things really well, and they're just like, right. And I remember they asked me, but I, like year 12, like when I remember writing the English essay on a book that I never read because I didn't like the question of the book I did read. Yeah. And so I think if you could articulate yourself, you could do it. So they'd ask me a question, and I just like, I don't know the answer to that, so I'll just make up and I just change it to, I think the more important issue is this, and then I would make my own story so they could see that. Anyway, apparently they loved me and they took me on to it. It's the first time they've ever sent 2 people.
Fantastic. So you went off to Sweden?
I went off to Sweden and loved it, but I got there and I got to I was actually at a nightclub. Underage because I was.
Oh my goodness, that sounds exciting. And a nightclub in Sweden.
But we were all drinking, and then they were sort of like, and then for some reason people already knew me there when I came, when I was out, and I just was talking. Anyway,
were you the Australian one? You were the Australian Swedish.
Yeah. And so they
you
sort
would
of
have been a novelty.
And so we chat and whatever, and then they're like, come and join the circus, and I'm like, I thought they were joking.
Wait, come and join the circus. Okay.
Yeah. So then that was there, and then so the next day, or maybe that next day, whatever, next 2 days or whatever, I went to the school, and so when they were in the circus, it's sort of like, if you do something else here, you still need to do your main subjects, like your English and your maths and your core, and then you can do your other things out. I guess sort of in a way of no, we don't really do TAFE, but like you can still do that, but you still need to pass your English and your maths, which is Swedish, and your maths or whatever at the school. And so they saw me then, they said, are you joining the circus? And I'm like, I thought that was a joke. Long story short, I joined the circus.
Oh my God, I love it. So how old were you at this time?
I turned 17 by then.
17, and I am in the circus.
Yeah. So
in Sweden?
Yeah, in Sweden. And so we had circus schools, so you do everything, we travel around, because now it is huge. So where it is, now it is like an entity of its own. But we used to, because it wasn't before, we sort of trained in like the gymnasium of there, and then we'd go to this circus beach, which, like a real tent and everything, and sort of went there. And I sort of remember like doing the trapeze there, and I'm like, but the mats are this thin, it's that high. Like they just did not have the precautions that we would have in Australia. I'm just like, anyway, we'd go, but like, you do that, and you had to do it. Like, but we'd train a lot, like on the trapeze wire, somewhere else on lower, but ride a bike and juggling at the same time, and all these multitasks.
That's fantastic.
And
what an experience.
It was.
And did you just pick up trapezing? Is that the word?
Trapeze, I did, because I hadn't, but I guess with all my sport, because I was in the Australian team for trampolining since I was 6, that
you actually forgot to mention that. So you were in the Australian team for trampolining. I love it. You're a fascinating creature, you are.
So I did a lot of sports. So I do that. So I also taught them a lot of the trampolining tricks and things like that. So then if we were on horses, do a backflip off a horse or something, so I could teach them that and sort of thing. So I was able to help within that, but like, they would do like, I don't know, like I just thought like the fire wasn't real fire. So when I juggled the fire, then I just held them at the end, and I'm like, that's freaking fire. I'm like, I remember having my hands, scorched, and I'm just like, right. And then they're just like, like there was guys that put swords down their throats, and I'm like, they're real swords. I thought they were like things that would contract up, like hit something.
That's what I think it is. It's not that.
No,
it's actually real.
I'm just like, you people are crazy. And some of them they would do shows at areas, to earn extra money, sort of out. And I'm just like, they'd lie down on broken glass and have a slab of concrete, and I'm just like, that's
real. No camera tricks there.
Yeah, no camera tricks. It was crazy. It's a lot of learning your muscles and things like that. Very, it was. Sorry,
there's a guy that clears his throat. Sorry about that. If you can hear that, hacks it up. Anyway, it's all real live. Just keep it real right here at Toni and Co.
Edit it out.
And so how long did you stay in the circus?
So I was over there for a year, because then I was going to come back and I was going to go to uni. That was a plan.
But I feel a but coming up here.
Yeah, there was a but. And I could get into anything I wanted. I did really well in school. So I came back, and it was summer, and I not quite remember how it happened, but I was then doing aerials, skiing, and it was over, and we trained through the summer. You go down a ramp with your skis on, but it's
was this like up at Falls or something?
No, it's up at Wandon. It's Wandon because it's summer. So, and we go down the ramp, and then we'd do the aerials off the ramp, and then you'd land in a big dam where the leeches are. And so you have leeches on you, and you look at that, and then I remember looking at the overseas people. I'm like, but they're in nice pools, aerated pools. We had an aerator that didn't always work. And I'm like, we're jumping into a dam, and then you'd have to take off your skis, swim to the edge, take off your skis, walk back up the hill again,
picking the leeches off you,
and then go down again. Yeah. So.
Oh my God! So you did that?
I did that, and so then obviously I was training for that, and so there was World Cups and everything to go to, but like I honestly just didn't have the money. My parents didn't have money, and I'd work 2 jobs just to do the training. And look, the reality is, if you were going, and some of my friends went, it was very costly. Like, you would need your parents' supports because you couldn't. I had to work jobs around in the wee hours of the morning to be able to ski and go to the gym and be fit and do that. So it was sad I couldn't do it, and I couldn't go overseas with everyone to do it, but that's reality, and then you've just got to move on.
Yeah,
so
right.
Then I remember thinking, well, if I can't do that, I did the winter and everything like that, and I remember I didn't ski. Like, I'd gone once when I was young to Falls, and I think maybe once to Bulla or somewhere, and I remember going down. I was at Bulla because that's where we trained, and I was standing at the top of the hill. Kirsty Marshall was with me, and she's like, you just go to, and it was a blizzard, you could not see the jump, and I just remember she goes, you'll feel it, and I'm just like, right.
That makes my feet go funny now.
Yeah. And so I remember going down, and you did feel it, and then you've got to go down and you do your somersault, and then I thought, and as I'm doing the flip, I'm like, but I don't know what's after. And I didn't, and actually it wasn't until the next day, because I'd never done aerials, that I saw that you then land, and then it gets down to flat, and then it goes off the cliff. And thank God, when I hit it and I felt flat, I just skidded straight. Because I thought,
that
in my
instinct kicking
mind,
in. Yeah.
Instinct was, when you go, follow the mountain down, like the tracks, and it goes around, well, then it goes off. That's what my thought was, what I hit. I landed, and then went flat. I'm like, oh no, I'm going down again, and there was trees. So I stopped, and I was like, and then because you'd normally go, it's clear at the bottom to say it's clear, but obviously it was a blizzard. So I walked back up, because it's not where the lifts were then, and then you'd walk 20 all the way back, and I said, you could go, and she's like, I wouldn't jump in this weather.
Oh, didn't think to tell me before.
And I think it was a bit of an initiation for me.
I think that's what happened,
and
right?
Then I just went, right.
Okay, so I'll move on
I
to
did that
something
winter and whatever, but going back to it, then I thought, well, what am I going to do? And I remember where I was working, there was a group of people and they're all going to Canada. And I said, always wanted to go to Canada. Oh, we've been saving for a year, you know, and we know you've got no money because you've spent it. Because we used to when we used to train, we'd break a pair of skis every day we trained. So it was just generally expensive, you know, the costs up there and staying up there. But when you're training, and we had to put this fiberglass, so every day we'd, you know, fiberglass them back up. And there is a specific length, 160, so it doesn't matter if you're tall or short, everyone uses the same length, and so we'd buy them secondhand, and you'd be in the trading post, you know, grabbing the first pair, and it was it was hard. So yeah, it was because the ramp is made of a degree, so you have to, you know, they go on that length. But so I just went in there like, but you haven't been saving. And long story short, I think a week later, I rang my parents and I said, I need to get a visa. I'm going to Japan. I have no money, but I need, and I remember they were in Malakuta. I'm ringing and I'm thinking it's wine o'clock. They're going to be at a pub.
Yeah,
so I started ringing, you know, but they're going to be, but this is ringing up, you know, Yellow Pages, finding out that there's no mobile phones. And I'm just ringing around and like ringing the pubs. Look, I just wondering if you can do a call out to see if Ingrid or Doug Smith are there.
Yeah.
You know, like just do a call. Anyway, I found the pub they were in and I said, I need you to transfer me $2,000 into my account. I just need to get, you know, they'll print out out of the machine. This is the old and print out, and then I'll change it back to your account. That's done. That's all I need for my visa. And they said fine. So they did it for me, and I went there and printed it out, got my visa, and the next week they were still on holidays. I left and I went to Japan.
But how did Japan come up? How did that get into your radar?
I got a job leaving there. I don't know if I just rang. I can't remember.
Just went, that's how it is.
But
and
yeah,
it came
I just
up?
went, and then but I had the job. Like I got the job and I just went to this place and someone picked me up and it was in a hotel. I don't remember where it was advertised or if someone told me. I can't recall that, but I remember getting it.
Yeah.
But I never met anyone. So it had to be on a phone or something.
Yeah.
And really, if my kids told me this these days, I wouldn't even like them now. Like, but what's the company you're going for? I didn't know who I was working for. I remember I had
different times, different times. You know, look, you're fine. You're fine now.
And I just remember then getting the flights and getting a limo picked up, drove all the way to this hotel. No one spoke English. It was a guy that little bit. The things that happened. I've got so many stories from that. We don't need to go. But like they were like.
But was it a good experience or bad experience?
Such a good experience. I had a great, and so I was living in the country town for, that's where I learned Japanese because I did karaoke. Then I worked extra shifts like I did. They wanted me more so, you know, for welcoming people, and I think it was sort of a bit of a, you know, highlight to have in a Westmere just to welcome you. And I'm like, well, that's all good. And you're welcome because they all come on these buses. And then it's in the Shimmer Onsen, so it's very, sort of a bit like Surfers Paris. No one lives there, everyone goes there, but it's like for these natural baths. And they'd all come in these buses and they'd come for these days and then they'd leave and then they'd come and then they'd just leave. Like you sort of, and I just went, but like I'm just welcoming and then what do I do the rest of the day? Like, you know, so then I asked if I can work in the cafe and then I asked if I can work in the, you know, a bar at night or something, and then I learned how to play the taiko drums because I wanted to be part of that. And because it's sort of a country town, there's nothing to do unless you're doing stuff. And I'm like, so... But,
and it would have been just so vastly different.
Oh, so different, like chalk and cheese. But
just getting used to the food, no doubt.
There was, back then, like if you go to Japan now, like I even went, you know, 10 years or whatever ago, you know, there was a lot of English everywhere. There was not when I went there. There was, not even Tokyo really had a lot. It didn't have any at the train stations. There was no signs. There was very little English. So my daughter is 25, I think. And she lived there for the first 3 years. So let's say back, you know, just 20 odd years ago, there was no English around. There was nothing. Like, you know, they knew how to write and that because they'd learnt, but they weren't, you know, confident in speaking. But so I just picked it up. I just pick it up and then just go, you know, what's this? And they just answer and then they'd do a sentence or something. And I just picked it up very quickly.
Wow.
But I used to program, like meaning programming computers when I was in school. Some people used to hack. I just do the good things, and I do like. But there it is. I programmed, so I think that and language came very easy to me. Like I can pick up. So when programming languages used to change, I found it very easy just to learn the new one because it was just another language to me in the end. So I picked it up, and so then after 6 months, I moved to Tokyo. So there was a group there that used to come up and visit me all the time. And so when they'd come up and they said, well, why don't you come and live in, you can work for us in Tokyo. And after I thought, why? Because great, because I've really done, I think, all I can do here 6 months. I learned a lot, but then I went there, and then the first, couple of months, they drove me around. We did heaps of stuff. We're just shopping. Oh my God, the shopping.
Yeah.
I don't wear makeup, as you can see, like rarely do I. You said, come in makeup. I'm like, tinted foundation, like, mascara, because I've got really blonde eyelashes. But, but they'd buy me all this makeup, which is really expensive. And like I look now and people want, and I'm just like, Japanese and like all these things. And I said, so a week or two, this is great. Like I loved it because it was new and that. And I was like, but now I need to work. Yeah. And they're like, oh, women don't work in our company. And I'm like, but you.
Wow, that would go completely against everything that you kind of
I'm very independent.
And feel.
I'm very independent.
So how did that go down then?
So then it's like no, and I just said, well, I can't stay here. So then I would go to places to get an interview to get a job, but then they knew everyone, and so then they would tell them, don't give her the job. And so this came back to me. I'm like, but you can't do this. You can't hold me and tell me I can't work and then give me money. You can't pay for my rent. I said, I'm not.
Wow, what a wacky one. That's really strange, isn't it?
And I'm like, you can't pay for everything and then me not do anything. That's not how it works, and I can't. I can't do it. Yeah. And I said, I will move. And long story short, then they said, you can be our driver then, because because they owned a restaurant, and so, which was number 2 ramen restaurant in Tokyo at the time. And then I said, fine, I'll be a driver, and I'm a very good driver, and they couldn't believe that I could, drive that well. And so they said, because they'd always have to pull one of their chefs off to drive, because he didn't, the owner of the business did not drive. And so then we'd just hit the road all the time. We'd just go, let's go to Chicago, let's go here. We'd just travel like this, let's just hit the road. Fantastic. And we would just get in the car and we'd just go.
So you saw a lot of Japan?
And we'd just pick up and go, because he wasn't there. Like, he didn't cook or anything, he ran the business. But so we would go and we'd just hit the road, and then sometimes there'd be 2 vans or something, like, and we'd radio between them, like, like the old days of walkie-talks. It was crazy.
So how long did you end up staying in Japan for?
6
years. How many?
6.
6. Oh my goodness.
So I was with them and for a long time, and then why I left that company, because they, it was great. Sort of was like basically, they used to import all these really expensive cars from America, like have these big GMC that I could stand up in. We all had a bar. Like, they were like big sofa chairs that you drove in. Everyone had their own bar. There was a karaoke system in it. There was
in the car,
like it's like a van type thing. It'd go down to like the queen size bed at the back, and then swivel chairs. It was like, I don't like sometimes. They were great, and we'd have so much fun. We'd go out on the town all the time. It was the life. But I said, as long as I'm driving, I feel like I'm earning, then I can do it. And we lived the life. Like. Money was never an issue. It was you had the life. Like, it was great. And
would you ever go back and live there again?
I love Japan. I could easily live in Japan. I still got some friends that still live there. That there's very few girls that would say. A lot of guys, Western guys, are over there, but not girls. But
that's one of the places that we were going to go this year, actually. Sorry, that's a lie.
Oh, my husband and I are dying to go, but he always wants to go ski, and I'm like, but you still got cricket on, so that doesn't really work.
Yeah. I hope we do get there sooner than later, like maybe in the next couple of years, because Jack's really interested. He's they learn Japanese.
My daughter goes back. She's been back the last couple of years, and she had to cancel the trip to because of COVID. So she'll go back and see her dad. So I was. Then I married a Japanese guy that I met. So I met him through his best friend worked at that work I was at, and when we started dating, they said no.
His family?
No, not his family. The work said no. I can't be with him.
What? They're your work.
They're the work.
Wow,
and
that's
so
wacky.
this crazy things happen, like, and it's like, I sort of hear that story that people work for people, and I said, no, I lived in my own place, I did stuff. Look, the owner, he did have a girlfriend, he had his wife and he had his girlfriend at 2 different places, but it's in open, they work together. It's very different, it's a very cultural thing. It was above board, it's not like, and but then when they said no, I said, you can't say no, and I'll give you so what they did. And then, like, I think his brother was connected to the mafia, but he wasn't. But
my goodness.
Yeah. So then, but then the mafia was around. Things happen all the time. So there's mafia
This
around.
sounds like a flipping
the mafia
movie.
does not. The mafia does not touch regular people. So, but I remember I would be driving and I'd come to a roundabout, and you know who the mafia are. You know, like, and so
Do they smoke big cigars and like?
Wear really good suits. Go around like Mercedes vans.
But you know who they are. And so I would drive, and let's say I got to a roundabout and I would be there, but if you saw the mafia coming, you were supposed to let them go. Me being me, and like, I was at the roundabout first, I get right of way.
Oh my!
And so the amount of times that my boss
man.
had to pay them off, like, you know, a beer or something, to say, I'm sorry, she's a Westerner, you know, we've got to take.
And she's gonna do what she wants.
Yeah,
We
and they
can't
just
tame
do,
her.
yeah, they do it like that. I'm just like, no, I'm not.
Wow.
Yeah, so they knew, and I remember when we went, and we drove down to one thing, and they said, I think it was his brothers, because we went on this trip, and then so he handed me the brother, because I was obviously the closest person sitting, that was a woman, and he handed me the can, and I said, oh no, I don't drink Coke. And he just looked at me, and then he looked at his brother, and then they said, they're basically saying, you know, like, they never say things direct, but you know what they mean. There's never anything. So when you hand it, I know he meant for me to open it. I know that.
Oh, to open it for
To
him.
to open it for him.
Oh my
But I
goodness.
just said to him, being a smartest back, I don't drink Coke, and I handed it back.
Wow.
And then it's like,
Because that's not the so it's a subservient kind of you're the
because it
female
was
kind of.
so there was a
Wow.
lot of in that family, like the company that I work for, we're not mafia, but his brother that were.
Yeah.
But it's known that even in general, like of my era, the women would do things for their husbands, and when I married my husband, I'm like, no, and I was the money earner. So I'm just
Wow.
like,
So you
but
kind of
yet again,
shook things up.
I couldn't say that I ever earned more than him, because it would put him
Bring
in
shame.
Yeah. So I don't know. There is no way he was a chef, and there's no way we could have lived it, had the lifestyle what I wanted on him. So I had my business, and, you know, it was never said what I earned. But
Yeah.
But yeah, so it would go down with sort of, there was things like that. But
And so you stayed there. So you got married.
Yes, jumping back, so I met the husband. So basically, this is their style. So when I said no, and they basically taped him up, gaffer taped him, mouth and legs and arm, put him in a freezer and put a padlock on it.
What?
I'm serious. And I am, so you've got to remember, so there's a thing, and there's apartment blocks all the way around, so that's to the back where the restaurant was, and my Japanese is very good. It was back then. And anyway, and I am yelling that you can't do this, and get him out, and I'll bring the police, but yet again, I know the police are not going to do much, because it's going to do it anyway. And I know I'm tiny, but I'm very strong, and I actually got the key off the guy, and like literally found it, and I got him out, and I said, this, I can't even explain how unacceptable this is. I walked out, I left nearly everything there that day, and I picked up my stuff and walked out and never came back. And I just said, you can't do that. And I remember it was really hard. Like, I came back once for one of their cultural events, and I went there, and then like a guy that two people knew. A guy from the sake bar saw me, and the guy that like he had a fish shop, like, you know, fresh fish. They sort of saw me from the outer, and then they're just like, oh my God, you're here. And they were so excited to see me, because it's very community wise where you live, and, you know, everyone knows everyone. And I had always it's like these big floats, but I was always the person to ride on the top of the float and do it for so many years, and I just saw it. So I did it. Then I saw that one, and then I went to my local community and I did it with them, but it sort of went around. But like it was just, this is one of the very big ones, and so, but we sort of, they accepted because I was still with him. I think we were probably married by then, and then maybe I had my daughter too. And then they just thought that we had a family, and then they just think, we didn't think he was right, but obviously he is, and he's been there, because he just thought that he was going to be some guy that dated me and dumped me. That's what they were. But you're not my parents. You can't decide that. And not even my parents could do that. That's my decision. But yeah, so that was that. But so that was, so then when I left them and I did that, then I went and managed bars, which I loved. And these bars are just not like bars that you have because it's different, a bit different now, but a lot of Japanese people didn't know maybe celebrities of the Western world. So all these Western people would come in and they feel like they can just go out and be normal. So you go to bar, and my only rule was, and I managed the bar, my only rule was, to any of the stuff, you can drink as much as you like, because we all drank when we worked, as long as you can keep serving. That was a rule. It's obviously not how it works in Australia. But like, and we did. It was a good, but everyone was having fun, but you got tips. So people would, if you obviously couldn't serve, then people, we're not going to give you tips. So and like, in some nights you'd earn $8,000 in tips. Like,
wow,
it was there was a lot of money going around. Like, it was great and it was fun. And it wasn't until obviously I had my daughter, then I said, obviously I can't work in bars anymore. And then I had I started a language school, and which was really popular, and it was sort of more than and it was always full, and it was like
so teaching
English. So it was more
to
about
Japanese students
speaking, because they know all their written stuff, but it's more about conversations and things like that. So you'd have your books, and they still like to have structure, so you'd have your book, but then let's have a conversation around this, and they'd bring it together. So we did that, and I'd have people like toddlers right up to like people in their 90s.
Wow.
And then
a long time. What a great way to meet people, though.
It was great.
And different ages.
Yeah, it was
just wanting to learn.
Yeah.
So how did you get back to Australia then?
So then, so I said to my husband, obviously, the agreement was before we got married that if we had children, we would move back to Australia. I said, obviously, I'm sporty. I find it very hard here. There's no sport, not even really for me. I said, it's just not what you can do in Australia. So I said, I don't do instruments. I'm probably tone deaf for all I know. Like, I don't, like, so if I did an instrument or something like that, I probably would have stayed there and taught them that. My daughter, she got into sport very quickly, the ones that I could get in. You couldn't do swimming till you were a year old, but she was already running by 9 months. So when they saw her at 6 months, they were happy to, and they're like, oh, it's because she's a Westerner. I said, well, if you believe that, that's fine, as long as we're into swimming classes. Yeah. So, she was 6 months old, everyone else was at a year, and I said, a year, they probably hate water, they're not going to go under by then. And then ballet, you had to be 2, she got in there when she was 1, but you pay a ridiculous amount, I think, a lesson a week, and it's $2,000 a month, it was, like,
wow.
It's a lot of money for things that I was never a ballet, like I do a lot of sport, but I just don't think I could ever do ballet, and like, so, but yeah, so, that was the thing, and my husband kept going, next year, but he just couldn't. I said, well, I just need to pack up and move. I said, she's 2 years old now, she needs to be starting sports and things like that.
Oh, and we just moved because the sun is coming, and Mia was in the sun, and that's how we roll here at How Fabulous. We can do anything because it is so fabulous. It's how it is. Right, so now tell me, so he went, okay, this is not, you need to go
so
and
I needed to move back,
Australian
and it was hard because, and he just couldn't, and I just said, it's not about us now, it's about our child.
About the kids, yeah.
So we moved back, and he still thought I'd come back, and he, especially after 6 months, he kept asking. I said, no, she's in, well, she was in kinder there now, or whatever she was doing, and I said, I'm working, I'm, started up, and I said, no, I can't just, move. And I said, you need to come here. And look, his English wasn't great. We always spoke Swedish. Now, my daughter didn't speak English. And I just went, right. And so then I'm just like, because I had an English school, but then everyone says, but but you have an English school. And so we actually came over on a holiday, and I said, okay, I'm going to teach you some quick English. And everyone was just bizarre. And I said, well, I guess she does speak English, but she doesn't, because I don't know. Anyway, so we came here and she refused to speak English. She actually could. And she went to kindergarten, and there was a little Japanese boy there. They used to, con up together, and they used to have to separate them. I used to have to take all, oh my God, back in the day, VHS out of the thing. She wasn't allowed to have any of that until she was speaking English. And even with my mum, she'd ask her something and she just didn't understand. Well, some people can know the two languages. Why can't you and I prefer Japanese? Anyway, so that's not how it works here. We're in a different country. Yeah. You need to speak English. And she did. And look, it was unfortunate because I really drained everything off it, and then I didn't really put it back in. And so, she did lose her Japanese. She did go back later in, I think, grade 6 or something, and did it through Kumon and something, and then obviously now is doing it via other methods and wants to go back. So
she has a deep connection there.
Yeah, so I do
way.
regret not giving it back to her, but at the time I just was really focused on her speaking English and trying to
what had to be the right thing at the right time.
Yeah.
You can't, as a parent anyway, you can't be across every single little thing and make sure that your children know all of the things that you want
it's weird because I guess I remembered it in the back of my head. Like if someone spoke, and I still spoke Japanese every day, because the first job I had, I worked with a lot of Japanese people. So I spoke Japanese every day, and I just thought, I guess in my head, I just thought she would still know it, so I think I had that job for about a year or something. But so I just thought she would, but I said, and I got a new, at that time, I think by then I started dating somebody else, and like we'd separated, and I said, I said, because I'm not coming back there, and you don't plan on coming here. And it was sad because we never fought, we never did anything. This is a marriage that, had to go. So, but then, and then obviously they didn't speak, so it was always had to be English in front of other people. That's how you do it, it's polite. But anyway, so yeah.
So you found yourself back here, and then you got into the world of doing something totally
totally different. So obviously I had been designing and obviously Photoshop and everything in Japan as well. Even though I had my business, I'd done a lot of designing there, and learning Photoshop since version 2, and small video editing, like just doing things and on the side. And then when I came back here, I was still shocked by like
how backwards things were.
Everyone was. I was just like, oh my God, like and even like mobile phones, people didn't like, it was like I felt like I'd come backwards here. But anyway, long story short, I think then I can't really remember that, but the next sort of main place was that I ended up working. I was designing, well, I've always worked for myself, but like I was doing a lot of designing people's web pages. Like I could whip them up, and then obviously when Flash came out, everyone, you could do these moving motions and things like that, and then I could code all the Flash. So I was bombarded by work because I could do the designing front, but I could also do the coding back. So I could
what a beautiful match.
And then through time, I was headhunted by a lot of companies, obviously to do this type of thing. I ended up working with a company that was called Torsion in the end. They initially had the iPod, the name of the iPod. They had this device that was a little touch screen. Obviously Apple took the name, bigger company, more money. This was dispersed out between different things, but I did all the designing, so it was a touch screen, so I did all the front and then all the coding of it behind. So whether you'd be coding, back in then we used Director, which was another Macromedia product, which Macromedia is now owned by Adobe, but you'd either be coding in coding, but otherwise it could be, the website coding, or I use Director mainly, which now does not exist at all. There's different codings out there for POS systems now. So it was a POS system that we developed, and unfortunately, look, after the years it sort of went out, but it was too in front of its time. It was just too new, and people couldn't, like, we had it in many places, like, you know, you go around a big Virgin store on Chapel Street, you know, so they had the IP that basically of streaming, that if I was sitting here now, someone won the race at the Olympics, like, you know, they did, I could just stream it straight to that store and say that had happened. We actually had the IP for that. And it's really over a network, so not over the internet, over a network system. So if you were on a network, we could do it. So it was a strong IP to have. Like, if you look, you know, think back about it now. But so I did that for a long time, and obviously, long story short, that company had to fold. But I think when that did it, then I obviously, you know, still had freelance clients. You know, I went back and still did a bit more of where my, you know, like I enjoyed, because I hadn't done photography a long time, so I'd go out to the vineyards, to Taltani, and take photos and, you know, do all their marketing stuff. But then I guess more, you know, producing came in then, because I was, you know, I still used to produce everything. So then that would come back into it, and then I had great clients like, you know, Ferrari and that, you know, would always be in Richmond,
and so you were able to then just harness all of these things that you've known, picked up, all these amazing skills to be a sort of like a one-stop shop, because that sounds a bit tacky, but you know, like someone who could shoot it, produce it, shoot it, you know, do the design, that's what I do. Get it all together. Yeah. And so do you still do that for clients? Because now you've decided as well to add this feather to your bow.
So I don't.
So what's the label Mia about?
So that
then?
sort of came out. So basically going back then. So when I did that, then obviously I decided with all my meetings and everything with my daughter, because I'd be in a meeting and then I'd be running out going, shit, I left her.
Yeah. We've all been there.
I didn't pick up from school, and she's just put herself into daycare, which she loved because she played with other kids. Yeah. But from there, I decided, what out of all of I do I actually like the most?
That's a really important key thing to understand about yourself as you get older, isn't it?
And I just went, I really love the retouching. And but it was never a big component. I always did it, but it was never a big component of what I did. And I never told people. So even when I was doing work, I was video editing for a company that actually had a photography side, but I never let them know that I retouched, because I didn't want to do that there. I wanted to learn the video editing, so I did that and used to video edit lots of weddings and stuff. And and I was actually and I think this is where my midlife crisis came in. Like, I was doing weird stuff, like I was video editing, but like, and you know, and it wasn't but it's not a lot of money, but like, it wasn't about the money. I was just trying to find what I liked and what I wanted to do. And then I decided, once I had my two boys, that what out of this do I like the most? And it was retouching. Like, I can sit, and everybody knows who I've taught and over the years and worked with, they know that I sit there with a bottle of red and I just drink away, and I retouch, and I can retouch really fast. Like, and I can go through,
that's
usually late at night, and I just love it. And I love that, you know, for many years. And well, God, it was at least 15 years I did it full time. And so the kids doing, well, no, -3 now because they're 15. So yeah, over 10, 12 years full time. And then I sort of got to a point where I didn't really want to do it anymore. I found that because my son was, you know, at competition things, I wanted to do more and take the kids out, because I didn't have the nannies anymore. I decided I didn't need the nannies anymore because they're really both in high school now. And so then I decided that I wanted to do that. And I remember an event that I was at, and when I was asked to move an eyelash. No, that was the fires. There was something else I had to do. It was very minimal. It would never make a difference in the whole scheme of things. No one would ever know it. But anyway, I thought, rightio, I've got to drive all the way back to do this, because they'd initially signed it off. And then I had to go all the way back. And I thought, now I can't be with my friends. And I was supposed to be away at this event for over the week. And
one of those pivotal moments.
Yeah, pivotal
where you
moments.
Think, actually, what I love doing. Yeah. I'm not. I just don't want to. I don't.
So that was commercial. Bye-bye. So then I slowly moved my commercial clients out. Look, I had some small jobs that I do sort of over the years, but definitely since, what are we now? So definitely I don't believe I have in COVID retouched it all.
And it could be just the break you needed.
Yeah, but I don't. People think, because yes, I did earn a lot of money, like, and more than photographers would on a job. Like, you know, it's sort of. I mean, obviously they get royalties and things like that's different. You know, they sort of roll over, but would earn just as much or as more. So, you know, it was good money, and for the and I worked with a lot of the top photographers.
But you don't strike me as the sort of person that does something just for money. You do it for the money because you really love it.
I love it, and when I said when I don't love something anymore, and so that is when I drew back, and I was still teaching. I still love teaching it.
Yeah, because you have great skills to pass on to people.
But I just,
and that's a really generous
but COVID
thing to be
obviously
able to do.
stopped the teaching because you couldn't be in. And yes, I could do it overline, but I think it's really more. Sometimes I think they learn it more when it's in person, because I have done a lot of teaching over on Zooms and over the courses and things like that. But I think the people that learn the most are when you're in person and showing them.
I agree. Yeah.
So
especially something like that, especially something so visual.
Yeah.
As well, like I think you need to be there. You need to be right next to them.
And they can see it, but it's just easier. Like, I know it's a screen, they can see it and you can talk with them, but it's different. I truly believe, I think the ones that I teach in the workshops, which I did many workshops, they used to tell me, like, because I'd always do an Australian wide or something and I'd go around, I'd be dead by the end of it. Like, I couldn't work a week or two after that because it was so draining. So you'd have to take that time out, but it was good. I still do love teaching.
But so how did you,
this happened in COVID. So obviously my husband works with Cricket Australia, and so he's one of the top 4. You'll probably even watch the tell me off, like top 3. I think it's 4 in Australia.
You're right up there, mate. You're really high up in Cricket Australia.
And so I always get told off for not knowing anything. And anyway, so we were in a bubble, so like he would go in and out, but I still couldn't go out. So even when people got to a stage where they're allowed at the supermarket or go in, and I still wasn't. So everything got delivered. I was in my bubble. In the end I was allowed to go to the horses, obviously, because they had to, but I had to show them that it was that I could go and it was safe to go and there was protocols there, and I didn't see anyone else when I was there, so I was allowed to go to the horses, but all food was delivered, and the couriers would pick everything up from the door. Like I have never had to go. Auspost could pick up, couriers could pick up, anyone could pick up from my house. So literally I was in prison in the house.
Yeah, bored. Going, so what can I do? What can I do?
And it came out when obviously we needed masks. So I remember going when it was, and then I went to shop obviously for material to make the masks, and I'm just like, there is no decent material. I don't like any of these patterns, and I just went, well, I'll just print my own. And so I printed my own, and I made them, and then I thought, oh, we'll do some fun stuff. So then I printed some of the horses and the animals and whatever, and everyone goes, oh my God, how did you get that on there? And like, I'm just like, well, I did it, and but I said, I don't want to sew other people. So then I purchased the blank mask, and then I could print on top of them. So it was different when I was doing it for myself. Then I'd make them all up, and I did them for a few friends. But I said, then there was so many orders, it was crazy. So then so I purchased the blank mask, which I could print on top of, and then I'd do that. And it's just equipment I've had. Obviously, I've had over the years 4 parts of jobs and things like that. I have, so now I've still got I had my big A2 plus printer for work, even with folio stuff, and it was really expensive. Epson and then I've always had my, work printer, but then I've got 2 dedicated printers, which is like basically A4 and A3 to be able to print with this, because it's different inks, different papers, it's completely different, so they're dedicated for it. And so then it started off with masks, and then I can't remember what came next, maybe it was mugs. And then, then people would give me photos, and no one could travel, so no one was allowed shopping, but they wanted local things. So a lot of, I think, Father's Day was massive. People could pick up from my box at my house, so if they were local in their 5Ks, they could pick it up, and there was mass orders. Like, I'm just like, I can't keep up. Like, I used to just, I don't know how many hundreds of mugs I would make.
So many things have happened. Great stuff has happened because of COVID, like terrible
COVID,
stuff, obviously. But this is people being resourceful and going, what can I do?
Like, what can I do? So yeah, there went that, and then I'm just like, oh well, I guess and then I maybe I ran out of socks and I want to do socks, and it was always something for me first.
So you
and
just
then
you get
did
a plain garment or whatever it might be,
Yeah.
and you print on that. So you don't make up the whatever
No, I'm
it
not
is.
making up garments. I'm not sewing. I'm not doing any of that. So there are obviously specific things. So this is not a mug you can buy at Kmart and then just print onto it. So they're actually especially coated products, and they're not cheap. So so a lot of people that might do a simple version and the printed vinyl on it, because they can just go pick up a Kmart mug for $1, but these aren't. So and none of the materials are that you are, but they've just got to be of a certain substrate that you can do it.
And so where does that end then? Are you going to be doing t-shirts?
I do t-shirts. Yeah, I just haven't had time to.
You need to and you're a very busy lady. And so will that be the thing that sort of keeps you busy for another 5 years, do you reckon? Or
I don't know. I can do it on the road, because obviously my older son that is obviously doing, they've changed the name of the school now, because my daughter did it for 10, 11, 12 so she could do her riding. It's now called Virtual School Victoria.
Yeah, Virtual School.
So, so my son is doing that so we can hit the road. But in COVID, thanks COVID, we haven't hit the road yet. It's something I could put the printers and the heat presses and everything into the truck and take with me, and could do it. Or I could decide I don't want to do it with me when I'm doing it. So I haven't decided what I want to do. Like, I'm doing enough that I don't need to bring on other people, but and enough that I can do it around what I'm doing, and so I can control how much I want to do. So, which is great. Obviously, with a service, if you're doing, as you know, like you can't just. I worked through all my pregnancies, and I remember working up. My husband got angry that I'd have a laptop on the computer. Go get it from the car, and he didn't bring it. No, you must get it, because if I lost those clients, I need to re-find clients. Yeah. So it's just easy to keep.
It just is.
Yeah, when and it's like it's easy to keep the ones you have got than try and find a new one. And I know that, and it's life, that if you drop them, you've got to, because you haven't been there for a job or something. And I remember I was doing the races, and like I was giving birth, and I remember at the races I was always like, then I at the races or photo shoots. Whitehaven Beach, I'm totally pregnant and I can't sit on a boat while we're getting out on these waves because I'm about to give birth, and because I'm producing it later, and then I'd retouch it later. I'm just like, but it was like, and then but if I brought up something and the guys later had their kids and they're my clients, and it's like I couldn't speak to them week because their wife might go into labour. I'm like, but she's not in labour and you're not giving birth, and so I just need the answers on this job. But remember when I was actually giving birth and I was still working and doing all, because I think for me there'd be something for the big races or something that we're on, and then it could have been Melbourne Cup or something, and I'm like they needed something working, and so I'd have to code it. Yet again, I could upload it through this, I just like, for God's sake, give me a day.
So I think that you're a lady that wears many, many hats.
Many hats. I don't try and show them all, though.
No, you definitely don't try. And I feel very honoured that you actually come on my little show to actually share your stories, because I believe that lots of people ask you about your fascinating life and you say no. But
no, because I've never wanted to be known.
And there's all these things that I didn't know about you, and the fact that we've just met today for the first time after knowing each other and talking to each other through all these years has been amazing. I would suggest that probably once you start being on the road, doing the horsey kind of, trail kind of stuff, you'll find something else to be doing. So that'll be going, there'll be something else going, and then you'll be starting something else.
Actually, before COVID, I was trying to retire. This is coming out of retirement. I was supposed to be just be retired, but I know I will always have to do something, whether it be a charity or be something, and it doesn't matter if I'm on the road. Most of the things I do, and that if you do this, you could always interview people. You don't actually have to be in person. You could do it. A lot of people overseas, and there are ways of doing things. And I think you've just got to be resourceful. But
I think that's exactly right. I mean,
you will end up interviewing someone that is overseas that that you want to, and that you can. But it's always nice to do things in person.
It's lovely having a personal connection, and I think that's why I didn't want it to be just a podcast, because I could have done just a podcast, but I love the idea of, you know, being here face to face, out in the sun, and whether it's in a studio or whatever.
Yeah.
It's really nice, you know, connecting, and especially after COVID. Yes, if we close down or if there's someone overseas, and there's a few people that I have my eye on to be doing that, absolutely I'll do that.
Yeah.
But whatever it is, like you, there will always be some new project. I need to be busy. You need to be, and, you know,
you have to be busy. I think I'm busier in COVID than I was out.
I feel the same.
When I was obviously trying to retire, but then I've just made busy. And I said, because I said I can't not do anything, and I refuse to do that. Like when obviously my house used to be really neat, and I'd do the housework once everyone left the house. I'd do the housework and then sit down to work. But I said I can't do it while everyone's in the house, and I didn't want to do the regular things. I can't do the things that were supposed to be done. And I was like, but I want to do everything else.
Yeah. Well, look, I love your story. It's I feel like it's a movie. I feel like your life is a movie. I'm like, what? But we'd love to have you on again at some point to see what you're doing in about another 8 to 12 months.
Yeah.
I feel like there'll be something more going on. There'll be some, I don't even know what it is. I feel excited just thinking about what the hell you'll do. But it was so lovely to meet you for the first time, and thank you for coming in, and thank you for this amazing.
Every talk show has to have their own month.
Oh, I love that you've done that. That's amazing.